You have probably heard that Southern Rail is in a state of chaos at the moment, with its signal failures and industrial action. Its unfortunate customers will be getting a refund, which sounds good, as the UK has some of the most expensive ticket prices anywhere. However, the taxpayer will be fitting the bill for the refund. The entire UK will have to bail out a private company for its ineptitude, once again showing us its socialism for the rich and big business paid for by the working person. We have been sold the story by the government that this is not a case of continued failure of the religion of privatisation, but the meltdown has been brought about by those pesky trade unions sticking up for safety and workers' rights. However, this is just one side of the story, and when we scratch the surface, we find that the big business Tory government has created a toxic environment as part of its jihad against hard-working people. The government had created a franchise for Southern Rail, which paid a company with a poor record called Govia a set amount, while the government would take all of the ticket revenues. Not only did they award this large contract to a rubbish company, but the Tory government then ordered Govia to clamp down on its workers' rights. The government, having issued its fatwa against Govia's employees, the trade unions fought back to protect their members and the safety of the public against the lowering of standards. This reaction would have been obvious, surely, to Chris Grayling, the MP in charge. However, as Govia was contracted to run Southern, the government can blame them and the trade unions for its own incompetence, just as it used to shift the blame onto the European Union for its own failures in the past. So, how much of our money are the big business Tory government going to need to cover up for their mess and to make sure that Govia's shareholders and executives can keep on making a killing? The ticketing compensation will cost a cool £15 million, while the franchise losses come in at a staggering £38 million. While the Tories take no responsibility for their failed privatisation jihad, ticket prices continue to rise to pay for their ineptitude, some as much as 5.8%. Good luck to anyone needing to take the train and those that work for the industry. Perhaps Chris Grayling should be forced to take a train wherever he goes with no travel expenses to see how well he thinks privatisation is going on the railways. Most sensible nations have a national railway. This just makes sense. The rail is a crucial part of a nation's infrastructure. It is an efficient mass transportation system that allows people to get from A to B and also allows for the flow of large amounts of goods all around the country. This nationwide system should be seen as a requirement of a modern civilization and owned by the people so that it runs for their benefit, not for the benefit of big business. The system we have now means that the government just gives huge sums of money to a private company to run things. This nearly always ends in some kind of poorer outcome for the people that use those services, because the companies come in and to make more money they immediately look to cut costs in whatever way they can, which is especially bad when they have a captive customer base, as train services do. This results in prices going up and services getting worse until the services have fallen over. But by that time, the big bosses and major shareholders have made their money and working people have to fit the bill as the government covers the losses of the company and their workers lose their jobs. Arguably, it is the average worker in the rail company that will suffer the most from this and looks to prevent this pillaging from going on via their trade union. There is a severe lack of solidarity from the customers of those services at the moment. Some have been driven into hysterics as they cannot get to work or trains are cancelled or late. They do not bother to wonder why this is happening. So instead of discovering that yet another strike is taking place because the company will refuse to negotiate at all, a position supported by this Conservative government, by the way, on unions' demands, these hysteric commuters blame lazy, uncompromising unionists who they see as having nothing better to do than cause trouble. I think there's some underlying jealousy in this. Many people, especially in the private sector, are no longer in unions. So when they want to improve their working conditions, their bargaining power is often minimal, as it's just that of an individual. This is due to years of crackdowns on unions from Conservative governments, and I would imagine that due to this, their employer is probably able to put them on a warning for missing work due to strikes. So, the hysteric commuter, faced by a picket line of unionist workers, feels a boiling of jealousy and resentment, aggravated by the pressure of a boss who will penalise them for not being able to get to work for one day through no fault of their own, and they have no way to organise with others to address the unfairness of this. This way, solidarity and understanding of their fellow workers is reduced, which enables the Conservative government to crack down even further on the powers of the trade unions on the behalf of their rich business donors. It's a classic divide and conquer, and everyone should be aware of it. Continuing as we are will lead to us sinking even further into social conditions akin to something like a Victorian 2.0 society.